Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Starchild podcast, where we are wrapping up my favorite movie soundtracks of all time. Today we are beginning with a piece by Frédéric Chopin, who was a Polish composer, and many of his musical pieces are in the film by Roman Polanski called The Pianist, starring Adrian Brody as Władysław Szpilman, who was a Polish pianist during World War II who managed to survive the Holocaust. So here we go. We have Frédéric Chopin's Grand Polonaise in E-flat major, Opus 22. Begins with beautiful French horns, followed by some strings, and almost kind of like a violin plucking sound, which is a kind of cool technique that I admire from any violinist. Very grandiose. I thought it'd be just great to start off today's podcast with. Love that part, just that brief pause before the piano comes in. This is the final track of the movie. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, please do. It's almost like a time capsule back to those dark days in Europe. But brilliantly directed. Roman Polanski. Gotta give it to him. Good director. Rosemary's Baby, and Adrian Brody won the Oscar for his performance in the film, so he really went method with this one. He really did become Władysław Szpilman, and he learned to play the piano, and he himself became quite accomplished in the short time that he filmed. Which is very beautiful, very elegant, and very grandiose, and just a great send-off musical piece to a brilliant movie. Just a great documentation of a man's life and survival story through all of that terror, and managing to keep his will through music, his will to live. I love Chopin because a lot of his pieces go from very light and melancholy to just very angry and hammering sounds. Just very heavy notes. And in every piece he manages to play every chord and every note on the piano. Just those sweeping. It's so beautiful. The emotions that come out of them. I just love the way the pieces make me kind of feel the emotions that they bring out in me. Another one of my favorite Chopin pieces is his ballad in G major, which is really great. It sounds seemingly impossible to play. but it's hard not to make a great film with a fantastic soundtrack. You know, music is such a large part of movies that I wanted to highlight my favorite soundtracks of all time, because movies are a lot of things, and they're my favorite art form because they encompass so many different art forms into one. You know, you have costume, you have lighting, you have acting, you have directing, you have cinematography, you have photography, you have fashion, you have the musical score. So just all these different factors that go into movie making make it beautiful and wonderful. But I wanted to highlight one of the more significant components of filmmaking, which is the score, the musical score. It sets the pace, it manipulates the audience's emotion, it makes you feel a certain way. And that does it for The Pianist. Next up, we have another movie by Wes Anderson. One of my favorites of his. Didn't make any money. It wasn't very successful at the box office. But the technical aspect of it, I really admire. He shoots on location, just like, you know, the best directors do. And he filmed it in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Italy, with very large retired naval ships. And the lead in it is Bill Murray, and he just does a fantastic job of a kind of disheveled, semi-retired Jacques Cousteau meets Hunter Thompson, kind of, I guess. And the soundtrack is great because there's a Portuguese musician named Sue George, who sings covers of David Bowie songs in the film, and it fits surprisingly well. He could be seen in the background playing his guitar, you know, and singing the songs in the background, which is great. I love when directors kind of incorporate real life music into their scenes, you know, Quentin Tarantino with radios or whatever. And then after this, I'm going to also emphasize the other half of this movie score, which was done by Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. And he does kind of like an ambient kind of electronic soundtrack. But enough talking, let's play. This is just a compilation of all the David Bowie covers in the movie.
Seguir sem pintar, eu não vi o seu filme, não sou de jogar, não bebo em pé, não sei perturbar. Você não sabe se vai ou vem, pouco me importa se o dinheiro é seu. Ei, baby, se ele é legal, passe a manhã, pegue o que é seu. A maquiagem desmanchar, para o seu medo aparecer. 0 a 0, agora eu vou. Você deu uma...
Love it, just great beach music.
Oh não, você não está só.
Angelica Houston too. Oh my God,
Eu não vou
she's
deixar
so good in it.
mesmo se você quiser. Venha me ver, o sol vai se pôr. E outra vez eu vou estar perto de você. Oh meu amor,
Great acting
você não
performances,
está só.
great on
Estou aqui
location
para te
shots,
proteger.
and a great musical score.
Faça trilhas, se construa, se direito.
And kind of interesting fact, Cate Blanchett's character in the film is pregnant, and during the filming, she actually got pregnant with her first child, and so she played the character to a T because of that. I know she commented that it was kind of interesting to actually have, you know, the kind of the changes that a mother goes through actually, you know, while acting the part.
Seu poder vem do sol, minha medida, então vem, vamos viver a vida.
I love the custom costumes that the ship crew wear as well, with the Z patches on their blue suits and red caps.
Ele decidiu mudar. Será que ele partiu pra outro mundo, eu suponho? Em alguma estrela deve estar. Que corre pra ser feliz. As frutas do pomar, criança a brincar com você. E a gente esperança chegou trazer de novo o nosso novo bebê. Porque eu quero viajar, eu quero sair daqui e vou comemorar quando eu conseguir. Preta, vamos nessa, eu quero poder viajar, ficar com você. Segunda eu não vou trabalhar, quero subir pra conferir. Eu tô querendo mudar daqui, mudar com você. Mudar daqui com você, mudar com você, sei lá, qualquer lugar para Paris, porque eu quero mudar, mudar com você e o bebê, eu quero mudar daqui.
That was Sue George. Next up, we have one of the tracks in the film by Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo, called Pink Island Lightning Rescue. And here we go. Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, Owen Wilson, Kate Blanchett, Jelgi Houston. Just a great cast. Love that tracking shot too.
Oh, shit. Swamp leeches, everybody. Check for swamp leeches and pull them off. Nobody else got hit? I'm the only one? What's the deal?
That's Life Aquatic. Great performance by Bill Murray. Next is my favorite Charlie Chaplin film. His first talkie, because he was known as a silent film star. And then he broke out into films that had audio. And not just the soundtrack alone, but they had, dialogue audio and speaking people. And it's interesting that his first talkie is a film about Hitler and him doing a parody of Hitler while World War II is happening and before the United States has even entered the war. So it's very interesting to see a comedy about Hitler during World War II. But it's just absolutely fantastic. Like many Charlie Chaplin films, actually. And I know black and white films can be hard for a lot of people to watch, but they're much easier to digest when you kind of put yourself in those times. If you put yourself in the shoes of someone watching that film in that time period, it becomes a lot more enjoyable, in my opinion. And this is just a random scene in the film The Great Dictator, where he is alone. Charlie Chaplin is alone, and he's kind of obsessing over taking over the world, and has this kind of like sexual dance with a globe, an inflatable globe, and with just kind of some great kind of melancholy light string music in the background, which I think is just great. So he's just a master at physical comedy. Definitely set up a lengthy career. So this is Charlie Chaplin parodying Hitler. Picks up the globe, spins it on his finger. The world is his. Pretty sure he twerks with it at some point. Hits it with his butt. Yeah. Beautiful cinematography, though. Black and white films are actually some of my favorite because they just accentuate certain features that color fails to do. He's twerking with the world. Hitler. 1940, yeah. We haven't even entered the war at this point. I'm pretty sure the saying goes that Hitler copied Chaplin, and Chaplin didn't copy Hitler, and then he made this to make fun of Hitler. That's just the story. I'm not sure if that's correct. That's one of my favorites. Great cover art too, with the upside down Chaplin. That's a great restored film by the Criterion Collection. So if you haven't seen it, pick that one up too. Next, we have a film by Joe Wright called Hanna, starring Saoirse Ronan in her first kind of breakout big role. Saoirse Ronan is an Irish actress. She was in The Lovely Bones, among some other big films. Also starring Kate Blanchett and Eric Bana. And this is one of my favorite movie soundtracks because it was composed by one of my favorite EDM artists, the Chemical Brothers, who are a British EDM group who Joe Wright is a fan of, and he called them up and asked them to do his movie soundtrack, and they just hit it out of the park. They made this very creepy, spacey electronic score that just hits very hard for a spy film, and it sets the pace, the intense pace of the film, which is just kind of nonstop, 0 to 60 go, throughout the entire film, from beginning to end, which is why I absolutely love it. I know Amazon is remaking the series, but I have absolutely no hopes for it. Sorry, Amazon. Joe Wright did, I believe it was like a graphic novel at first, but he did it service. It's just such a great film, and one of my favorite movie soundtracks by far. And this is towards the end of the film. It's just a car chase scene with a great song behind it. Here we have the Chemical Brothers.
Hanna! Hanna, please! I tried to prepare you for what your life would be.
You didn't prepare me for this.
Run!
Los! Jetzt!
The end of the Hanna scene. Next up, we have it's hard to say. It's definitely Jim Carrey's best performance, in my opinion. Is it my favorite film by Jim Carrey? I don't know. I like his more comedic performances, a little bit better, but as far as a serious role goes, this is probably his best serious role in The Truman Show, where he plays this man who grows up a reality TV star. The only thing is he doesn't know that he's a reality TV star. His entire world has been crafted for him, made for him, and he is the star. He is the center of it all, unbeknownst to him. Everyone else is in on it. Everyone else is an actor. Even his real biological mother is in on it. And he grows up questioning the world and tries to escape this kind of fake prison of reality television that this giant studio has made for him. Let's see what the name of this track is. Father Colby's Preaching by Wojciech Kilar. So, good job. This is at the end of the film. I'm not going to give too much away. But this picture right here is very symbolic of the peak of the film. And I just thought that was kind of just a great picture. So that's why I chose this. Kind of miss all the 90s movies before all the CGI came along. The characters were more believable, the stories were more believable. Like Jim Carrey movies, watch this one. It's great. It just always has you guessing. It has a lot of twists and turns. You don't know how it's gonna end.
Just great.
And I apologize
Stranded.
for this. I should have ad blocker up, but for some reason it's not doing its job. Lastly, we have my favorite fantasy series, The Lord of the Rings, and this is my favorite track of the series, which happens at the climax for Frodo when Aragorn, Gandalf, the hobbits, and everyone charge into Mordor to distract Sauron so Frodo and Sam can throw the ring. Sorry, spoilers. Throw the ring into Mount Doom. So here we go for Frodo, and this is going to wrap up our soundtrack series, and next week I have a surprise for you, so tune in and catch me next week. I'm going to leave you with For Frodo, featuring Ben Del Maestro. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Starchild. Please tune in next week. I'll catch you later. All right, thank you so much. We'll catch you next week. Have a beautiful day. I love you. Mwah.